I always say to my students, pick stories that you love, pick stories that you feel like you have to tell, because you're going to be
Hmm.
living with that story and pitching that story way beyond the script. You're going to be
Right.
pitching it for grants, you're going to be pitching it for festivals, you're going to be pitching it for people to watch it online. You're forever pitching these stories, but to say something visually um, is powerful. I think it can change minds and hearts.
You're listening to Screenwriters Need to Hear This with Michael Jamin. Hey everyone, this is Michael Jamin. You're listening to Screenwriters Need to Hear This. We got a special guest for you today. If you are an indie filmmaker, an aspiring indie filmmaker, you're going to want to listen to this. You're going to want to meet Christina Beck, who I've known forever. She's an old friend, independent filmmaker, but she also teaches at Loyola Marymount University and the famed Stella Adler Theater, where she teaches screenwriting as well as film producing, filmmaking, all that stuff. So, well, Christina, welcome to the big show.
Thank you. Thank you so
It,
much. I was going to call you Mr. Jammin. It's a habit. I can't help it.
it's a hat
There it is.
because
There it is.
Christina briefly worked for me as an assistant for me and my partner on a show.
That's
And then
right.
I did I force you to call me Mr. Jamin?
It just kind of
Christina?
fell into this thing, Yeah, no, you did not force me. You didn't force me at all.
I never did
Um,
that.
but I will correct you, Mr. Jammin. So I actually don't teach at Stella Adler. I teach at Lee Strasberg, but I could see where you would confuse
Oh, Lee
that.
Strasberg.
Yeah, just from,
I would think,
yeah.
right.
I don't know. Well, they're all
Lee Strasberg.
there's
Go to
these
that one.
yeah. But sadly
That's right.
they're not
And that's
around
on
anymore, but the legacies are for sure.
I haven't been to West Hollywood in forever. And you guys, so you
Yeah.
got your one sheet from that's from Perfection. Let's talk about some of your movies that you've done, because Christina is
Okay.
an indie filmmaker. She's a hustler. She makes her movies. She writes her stuff. You started as an actor, right? Let's take me back to the beginning. You basically started. You wanted to be an actress, right?
Yes. Yes. Yeah. So I grew up here in Hollywood. Actually, not in Hollywood. I grew up in the Valley. Let's get real about that. So I
Yeah.
like to call it the mean streets of Studio City. And
Uh huh.
although it was very different back then, I know today well, it's unaffordable. It's like you can't even get
Right.
in there. But back in the day, it was the suburbs basically. And my folks were in show business. My father was a screenwriter and an actor, and my mother was an actress, a model kind of actress. She ended up studying in New York with some very significant people. Sandy Meisner had a full scholarship for the neighborhood playhouse, which was a big deal back in those days. But my beginning with acting really started just as a kid, you know, being extremely bored in the valley and putting on shows. I was that kid. I was putting on shows, arranging the stuffed animals. If we ever had company, they were held hostage to my
Uh huh. Really?
extravaganza. Yeah, it was cabaret 24/7, and I know. Yeah, you didn't know that about me. Yep.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
also didn't know your dad was a screenwriter. I didn't know that as well. Did he work a
Yes,
lot?
he didn't work a lot as a screenwriter. He worked a lot as an actor. So when he came out to Hollywood, he's from Texas originally, and he came out to Hollywood and like straight away got signed to William Morris, got put under contract at Universal, and did a bunch of movies. But then he did westerns. He was I always played the bad guy on Bonanza, and
Did he?
yeah.
Christina, I didn't know you were Hollywood royalty.
Well, a little bit, yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Wow.
Definitely the lineage is there. So, yeah, but his real love was screenwriting. He didn't love
Hmm.
acting. He really did fall into it, and he had a great look, and he was a cowboy, so he played a cowboy, and but he wasn't even really a cowboy. He's just from Texas. But
Right.
but yeah, there's this really great story. So Robert Blake, who some of us know,
Mhm.
strange stuff all around that guy. But that
Yeah.
said, back in the 50s, he was friends. My father was friends with him, and Robert Blake had a part where he had to ride a horse. And so my dad said, "All right, buddy, I'll take you out." And they went to, I think probably, well, I don't know what it's called now, but it used to be called Pickwick, which is in Burbank
Mm-hmm.
near Disney. They went out over there. And not only did he teach him how to ride a horse, he helped him like learn his lines. And because I heard this story later after my father passed, Robert said, your father, he really, he sat with me in this like tiny little apartment and he had me drill my dialogue and I got the role because of him. And just very sweet, old school
Wow.
Hollywood stuff like that. But that said, when my father wasn't working as an actor, he was always it was dad's den, type, 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 type. He was always working on screenplays and he loved writing. Yeah.
Do you feel the same way? Do you like acting more or writing more for you?
Well,
Are you like your
it's
dad or not?
no, yeah, no, I'm not like my dad. There's bits of me that are like him, but it's more acting was definitely the first bug. And like I said, putting on shows at home. But then I got kind of lucky. I was in the Valley still. So on Ventura Boulevard near Vineland, there was this place called Morolandis Dance Studio. And my mother used to go and take a jazz class there. This is the late 70s. And next door was a
Mm.
place called the American National Academy of Performing Arts. So I kind of wandered over there and at this academy place, and I ended up joining an acting class. And my very first acting class, an acting teacher, was a man named Francis Lederer. And I didn't know this at the time. So I'm like 9 years old, 10 years old, and he is about 80 or maybe like in his 70s. And so I joined this acting class, and then he asked me to be in the adult acting class, and I got to play all the juicy, like the bad seed and just fun stuff like that.
Oh wow.
And so it turns out that later on, I found out that he was a big deal, and he was in Pandora's Box, the silent film starring opposite
Oh,
Louise Brooks. And
okay.
and he did a ton of stuff for a long time. And then he was part of the Actors Studio in New York. And he was from Eastern Europe, but came over here right before the war, I think.
Hmm.
So that's when I really just was in heaven as a kid, acting in this class. And then I also did some commercials with my brother. We were in some commercials. And then I became a teenager, and then I became really rebellious and
Uh-huh.
got into the LA punk rock scene and completely fell in love with music and artistry. I mean, really, at that time, too, this was the early 80s when punk rock wasn't necessarily violent. What's so funny? Why?
Because I can't picture you being into punk rock. I guess it
I
doesn't.
got pictures. I got pictures, and I've actually written a whole show about it. So yeah,
Uh-huh.
but all that to say, yeah. I mean, I wasn't like the tough punk rock chick. I liked the artistry of it. I liked and when
Right.
I say that, I mean there were a lot of like wonderful, cool artist people that I met, mostly much older than me at the time, but they were musicians and writers and actors but they were on this kind of rebellious thing where we don't need permission to do anything. We
Hmm.
just get to be creative. And that's what I loved mostly about that whole scene. And then, yeah, there were different facets of it that were cuckoo and violent and intense and lots of drugs and lots of alcohol and lots of
Right.
inappropriate stuff. And but then I got cast in a movie. So now it's like my late teens, and my best friend, she was there is a woman named Penelope Spheris who has made
Hmm.
films that we know of, Wayne's World and different Hollywood films. But at that time, she had made a documentary called The Decline of the Western Civilization, which is a really amazing film, even to this day, because she really got into that LA punk rock scene at that particular time and space. And it was an incredible film. And she wanted to make a narrative film. So she wrote a script and got it produced. by a furniture salesman guy, and I think Roger Corman, of course. And so
All
I got
right.
cast in that. And like I said, I was in my late teens. And at that time, I was kind of over punk rock. And I was like, I don't want to, it's just stupid. But I ended up doing it. And that is where I really was like, okay, this is the way I want to spend the rest of my life. I loved being on set. And to answer your question, it's really tricky. I love in the realm of all that we do, in terms of like writing has its moments, and then, the pre-production, but being on set to me is definitely my favorite. And, and post is a whole
Okay.
nother exploration. But yeah, so it was from that moment on that I was just like, okay, this is what I want to do. And I did a couple more films with Penelope, and then I moved to New York City. And I wanted to be I also felt like, okay, I didn't really I need to be a real actor. Like I really, and so,
Like a theatrical actor. Is that why you moved to New
well,
York?
yeah, I mean, I love theater, and my very best friend, you might know her, Cynthia Mann.
I know.
Oh, okay. Jamming now.
Familiar. Yeah.
So we were
That's how I
roommates.
met my wife. That's how I met her. I met you through her. I met you, honestly, Christina. That was like the first time. Like it was really, I met you really on when real early on. But go on when I was
Yeah,
with Cynthia, really,
yeah,
like
I
day two
know.
or something.
I
Yeah.
know. I know. It's so great. um, so,
But go on. I
but so
interrupted you. Yeah.
Cynthia was in New York, and so, and we were at that time. For me, I felt like I really wanted to study and be a serious actor because I come from more of a film background. I did study a bit with Francis, and but I really wanted to sort of pay my dues as an actor, and I did. I studied with a bunch of different great people. I auditioned for everything that was there at the time. And
Tell
uh,
me, I'm going to interrupt for a second. Hold that thought,
yeah,
but tell me
yeah.
what your thoughts are, the difference between acting for film or television and acting for the stage.
Well, in my experience and what I'm also kind of revisiting lately, it's well, when you're acting in film, it's very subtle.
Right.
There's a camera, and the camera picks up everything. And so when you're on stage, you are playing to the back row. People in the back
Right.
need to see and understand what's going on. Um, and it's just it's very different. And I think most actors can do both. Some are, I guess, more comfortable doing one or the other.
But when you
Um,
study and you train, do you sometimes study specifically, or did you specifically for film versus
no, no, I
no?
didn't.
Are
No.
there? I mean, are there classes like that? Like just for
Yeah,
fun?
yeah, there's like on camera classes where people,
Uh huh.
it's for auditions, I think, but also to get to practice sort of how you come off on camera. Um, yeah, I never did that.
All right.
Yeah, I never really did that. But here's a weird, maybe creepy thing. Like ever since I was a kid though, I always felt like there was a camera on me. Like I would visualize, I could almost disassociate a little bit. This is a psychological thing here, but I felt I would kind of like imagine like walking to school. What would it be like if this character was walking to school? Like I almost was above myself a little bit watching myself. So, and that's a weird thing to say because actually, when you're acting in a film, you really shouldn't be watching yourself. But that's where I am also a director. So,
And so, in other words, you were visualizing, like how you would shoot yourself, or was it more of like
yeah,
was it more as
yeah.
a fantasy thing, or like how would I appear on, how would I want to shoot myself if I was walking down the street?
Yeah, it's more that one. Like it of course a little bit of fantasy, but it
Mm-hmm.
was escapism. But it was also like I was sort of able to take myself, little Christina walking to school, fifth grade, out of it and see it from this other angle. And I don't know
Mm-hmm.
what that's about, but I do now. Because I see things that way all the time.
Really, how you would shoot it, where you would place the camera,
Hmm.
right?
Or
There's so many,
where
yeah.
is the, yeah, like where is the camera? Yeah. Yeah, and it's such a funny thing because we live in a world now where everyone has a phone and everyone is documenting, everyone is shooting themselves, and that's it's a little different, but it's I guess it's similar in a way.
Did you
Yeah.
have film equipment when you were that young? I
Well,
mean, because
my
none of it,
dad,
we really
yeah,
didn't.
no, my dad did. My dad made some Super 8 films and
Uh-huh.
actually, yeah, we did a lot of home movies when I was little. So I was used to
With
being in
sound?
no, no sound,
No, it's
no
interesting.
sound. So
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, being tied up on a tree and then my brother coming up on a horse and all sorts of me
Uh-huh.
crying. Yeah, I got it. I got it all.
Wow. And then
Yeah,
so after New York, so how long were you in New York?
3 years. I was there for three
And then
years
what made you
and
decide to come back?
well, I wrote a play, and
Mm.
that's kind of what happened. So I'm in New York, I'm studying, I'm auditioning for everything. Film, I remember that there was one year where I really went out for everything that was shot in New York or anywhere around there and didn't get anything. And at the time, I was studying with a woman at Playwrights Horizons who was a writer and an actress. And she said, listen, you guys really should start writing characters that you feel you could play, or just,
Mm-hmm.
more of an empowerment in terms of, instead of waiting around for everyone to give you a role, write something. So
Right.
a bunch of us did, and it really started out by writing monologues. So I wrote like I was in a group of women and we formed a little theater company, and so we wrote characters and monologues for these characters, and then we put it up, and that was really great. And then I got an
How did you, but
idea.
don't skip that step. How did you put it up? Like, how do people stage plays? I bet
Well,
you a lot of people
at
are
that
curious about that.
time, at that time, which was a long time ago, we raised a little bit of money, kind of similar to a lot of independent film stuff, but we raised a little money, family and friends type of thing. We actually did it at the Samuel Beckett Theater, which was where Playwrights Horizon, I think they're still there on 42nd Street, I think 8th and 9th, 42nd Street.
Uh-huh.
And we put it up for a weekend, and we got reviewed, and we got in the, it was great. It was super fun, and it also felt like I started to feel more complete as stuff that I could do. Like as an actress, I always kind of I don't like waiting around. I didn't like
Right.
waiting for I just felt like I have more to do. And I was always journaling and stuff as a kid and as I got in my teens. And so writing to me didn't feel that far off from what I was already
Right.
doing. And coming into it as an actor, I knew I've read enough plays and I've read enough monologues to kind of understand how to write in that form. So I ended up, or when I was living in New York, I'd come back to LA and visit in the summers because summers are horrific in
Yeah.
Manhattan. So there were some musicians that I met that were doing some kind of cool stuff, and this one guy played. He had a kind of a character that he did, and so I wrote a play. It kind of inspired me to write this play about him. He was playing a lounge singer, and he and his friend had this group, and there was kind of like rock and roll stuff, but then they would go into a lounge sort of thing. And I thought, oh, that would be funny to. What would it be like if these lounge singers had a kid and like tried to
Right.
live their life? And it was a little autobiographical. The father's alcoholic, and the mother's sort of obsessed with her beauty. And so these themes started to come up in my work. So I wrote this full length play, and there was music in it too. And then we shot some video footage. So it was sort of like a multimedia thing. So
Right.
I kind of had to come back to LA to do that.
Right. So you
And
staged it.
yes, I didn't direct it. So I wrote it and I starred in it. But a friend of mine, this woman named Modi, who I met from the punk rock days, but also she was Penelope's assistant on some of the film stuff
Hmm.
I worked on with her. and was a video director in her own right. And so she came in and she directed it, and it was great. It was amazing. It was
And
super
how'd you even
fun.
get the theater to put it up?
We raised a little bit of money, and then we got producers, and they
You
put it
got
up.
you got what do you mean? How does that work? You got producers. What does that mean?
Yeah, so the woman who played my mother in this is an amazing singer, artist, actor. Her name is Jane Cotillion. And so she loved the play, and she said, "Oh, I know this guy, Billy DeModa, and he's a casting director, and maybe he could produce it." And he did.
Hmm. This is just from being out here, just from like honestly just meeting people, being in circles, taking acting classes, and
Hmm.
because that's the thing about LA. Everyone's trying to do something, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I think it's now because of Zoom and different things in the world, and there's so much more accessibility. I think it's possible to collaborate and not be here. But all that said, especially at that time, you had to be here. And I do think it's still important to be in the place where you want to be if you can, but and these people I knew, so like I knew about the guy, his name is Manny Chevrolet, and he and his friend had this act, and they were opening up for the Red Hot Chili Peppers, and I knew them from Suburbia, which was the movie I did with Penelope. I knew Flea, and so it was kind of a group of people that I already knew. And then the musical director is this guy named Tree, who's good friends with Flea, and like they were just like all these people that kind of organically came on board.
Interesting. And then
Mm.
tell me, but how do you, because you're also obviously, you've written and directed and produced a bunch of movies, indie movies. Some are short, some are full length. But how do you go about, all right, so you work on the script. How long do you work on the script, and when do you know it's done?
Yeah, that's a great question. And then every project's a little bit different. So with short
Hmm.
films, um, well, I'm teaching a course right now, so I feel like I already have this in my mind. Short
Hmm.
film is one idea, and and that
Right.
script can take a long time to write. It's not easy to write a short film because
Yeah.
basically you're trying to squeeze in this one idea in a way that has a beginning, middle, and end, right? So it's not, you don't have the luxury of necessarily three acts, but you kind of have to
But
have
how
this.
long is it? How long is a short for you?
Well, okay, so that's another great question because what I have learned now, I think a sweet spot for a short is anywhere from 10 to 12 minutes.
Okay.
I think if you can do it in a shorter amount of time, even better,
Okay.
because depending on what you want to do with it. So there's a whole film festival world, which is pretty much the best place for your shorts to be seen if you can get them produced. So it's a matter of programming these films, right? So if you have a film that's 20, 25 minutes, that obviously takes up more time. And most film festivals, they program the short films in a block. So they're literally trying to pack in as many as they can, and good ones, and it's all different too, because the Academy nominated films, they can be up to 40 minutes. So, but even I
But when
guess,
you say program, when they're looking for blocks, like what is their intention?
well, they're showcasing.
What I mean, you have to understand that right as well, right? Like
Kind of.
how does the film festival, how do they make money so that they would want you,
Well,
right?
that's a whole other thing, so there's different kind of aspects to that. So there's short films that are star driven, meaning you can put a star, a name in it. Now,
Mhm.
that always brings money and cachet to a festival. But it's not it's you can make a great short film and not have a star in it, is really what I want to say, because
Mhm.
a good short film is something that has a very original idea. Again, it's short enough where you want more, basically, and it's not like making a feature and then picking a scene from the feature and making a short out of it. Sometimes you can create characters or create a separate script. Like, so I made a short film for Fox Searchlight. I got in this new director's program, with a feature
Mm-hmm.
script, and they would not let us, just take a scene from the feature. They were like, no, 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 you have to make a short on its own. And but with the same characters and the same relative premise. So that's kind of how I learned about that trap. But to answer your question, the short films that get noticed at festivals, or can even get into a festival, are ones that are very authentic to whatever the genre is, and the writer's vision. Like, what are you talking about? Is it something? And that's also a weird trap too, because as a writer, I don't want to be thinking about a festival. You know what I mean? That's way down the line. But um but you kind of have to live in both of those realities in a way, because if this is a calling card as a writer or as a director of indie films, it's good to keep in mind, okay, I'm not going to write a 45-minute short film and expect it to be programmed. That would set myself up to fail. If I can
But when you
write
say programmed, what do you mean by programmed? Like, how are they
by
going to play for that weekend?
Yeah, so in a film festival, they have a program of films. They have, whether the festival is a week long or a weekend,
Mm-hmm.
depending on what festival it is. But for instance, let's just say Sundance, it's I believe a week. So there's some pretty intense statistics that I just found out from a friend of mine. So they had the largest amount of submissions of short films this past year than ever, like over 10,000 short films, and they
Wow.
only program 59 films. So,
Wow.
it's like, oh my God, and Sundance is wonderful and amazing. And if you can get in, great. It's not the only festival. There's a gazillion festivals, and anyone is a great experience to get in and go to, and have that festival experience. But to answer your question about programming, are
Mm-hmm.
we there? Yeah.
Yeah.
The people that program the festivals are people that watch the films and decide, okay, we have 3 short film programs, A, B, and C. This is just making this up, but it's kind of how they do it. We have 30 minutes in each block, so I got to squeeze. It all depends. Sometimes there's a film that's a little longer, but they really like it, so they're going to put that in there, and then there's less room for other films.
Mm-hmm. And how much does it cost to submit to a festival usually?
It varies. It definitely varies, and it varies. Sometimes they have early submissions that are always a little cheaper. Also, depending on, you can always ask for a waiver. Sometimes they give them to you, sometimes they don't. Um, So it can be anywhere from $20 to 75 to $150. It definitely can add
Okay.
up. Um,
And when you make a film, how many festivals will you submit to?
Again, that all depends. There's certain festivals that you can target for. Again, there's like the big sort of 5, 7 festivals. Sundance and Berlin and Cannes and um, Toronto, Telluride, and then yeah, those are kind of the biggies. But then there's everything that tiers down from there. So yeah, it can get very expensive and super daunting, and that's a whole other conversation. The film festival world, it's huge. It's a
Now, let's say
big
you get
machine.
into a festival, into a big prestigious one. Like, what is the goal eventually? I mean, and how? Yeah, what is the goal? You got to, you're short. Your 8-minute film is in Sundance. What are you
Right.
hoping?
Right. Well, you're hoping for eyes on the film. And that's a really also interesting question that you asked, because back when those festivals, like especially like Sundance, is a very different festival today than it was when it first started, as most things are. But those that would be the eyes, like everyone would be there, and you would get and you would just get the cachet of like, this is a Sundance film. It would give you opportunities to meet agents, and if you don't have
Hmm.
representation, it'll help with that. And it's still, those things can still happen. But now you can get eyes on your film on the internet. Like you can generate that if that's
Right.
what you really want, if that's your goal. So, you know, we need those things, but we don't as much anymore. It's a very different business today. But initially, yeah, you want to get eyes on your film, people to see your work, hire you for more stuff. I mean, that seems
And when you say on the internet, you mean like YouTube or Vimeo? Like,
sure.
is there,
Yeah.
what's the platform? Both?
Yeah, I think YouTube is, I don't know if Vimeo, I don't know how many people, I mean, you can certainly send people there, but I think YouTube is a
Right. I
little
don't know.
more, yeah.
Right. People might find. Right. And so, but what do you tell your kids in your class today? Like, are you telling them to do more on social media, or like TikTok, or
Yeah.
what else are you telling to get found?
Well, I don't. I'm more talking about the actual craft of the work, whether it's directing
Right.
or screenwriting. I didn't come up with all of that, in terms of my work as a writer director. When I made my feature, I was very fortunate to, I submitted the script to well, I got into that Fox Searchlight program, which no longer exists, but there are
Hmm.
other programs. There's lots of diversity programs. Different studios have programs for emerging writers, and that one,
Hmm.
at the time, I was one of two women. There were all men. There was like 40 men and two women. And nowadays, it's definitely evened out a lot. But all that to
Yeah.
say, that helped with, oh, she was in that program, so let's take a look at her script. And then I submitted to an organization in New York called the IFP, which now is called Gotham, but they do the Spirit Awards and Filmmaker
Hmm.
magazine, which is something that I started reading very early on. And I got uh, nominated for Best Screenplay. So from that, I got on their radar. So it's kind of just taking steps to be seen. It's always about people knowing what you're doing and what your vision is for this work.
Do you go to a lot of film festivals even when you're not in them? Did you go just to watch or to meet people or anything?
I do in town. Yeah, in LA I will. I
Hmm.
mean, I went to
Right.
Berlin when I didn't have anything in Berlin, sadly, but I was there. I was there for a meeting with some European producers, and then just happened to watch some amazing films. Film festivals are great because you meet like-minded people, whether it's people in the industry, but also you meet other filmmakers, other writers, other directors, people that are, maybe a little above you, maybe you've done a little more than them, but it's a
Hmm.
really cool, because the energy at most festivals, like I went to Cannes, god, when was it, 2006. I was trying to get my feature made, and I was very naive. I made a short film version of my feature, and I went to Cannes, and I had my DVDs, and I had my little, pitch idea, and I didn't really know that these meetings that they have, because there's a film market. Some festivals have a film market, and that's always really great. Berlin, Cannes has one. There's a film market here at AFM. Kind of different energy though, for sure. But in Cannes, it was like, oh my God, I was so lost. I was just like, what am I doing here? It was amazing, and it was horrible. And it was like that, like within each hour, I just felt like I was so over my head. And yet
Uh,
really cool, wonderful things happened. And I met people there that I'm still in touch with today.
hey, it's Michael Jamin. If you like my videos and you want me to email them to you for free, join my watch list. Every Friday, I send out my top 3 videos. These are for writers, actors, creative types. You can unsubscribe whenever you want. I'm not going to spam you, and it's absolutely free. Just go to michaeljamin.com/watchlist. people ask me this a lot, but do you find from where you are that it's that meeting writers and actors and directors, do you feel like it's collaborative or is it competitive?
Well, I think it's collaborative, and you
Mm,
can kind of sniff out people that are competitive. I've been in quite a few groups of women, especially. So
mm,
back a couple when my first short film screened with the American Cinematheque, not my very first short film, but the first short that I directed. And I met a woman there named Kim Edelman, and she's amazing. She's written a book about short films. She's incredible, and she supports a lot of female directors. And her and this guy named Andrew Crane created a program at the Cinematheque. And so through that, we made this thing called the Female Filmmaking Collective. And so we would bring other women directors. And this was this was like 15, 16 years ago. And then there's been other women's like filmmaking groups, the Film Fatales. I'm a member of the AWD, the Alliance of Women Directors. So all that to say, for the most part, the energy is very much like, yay, how can I help you? And then there's a few people that are, like anywhere in the world, it's
mm,
their personalities, the spirit of, I try to stay in the spirit of that there's enough for all of us, because otherwise that makes me uptight and I don't want to
yeah.
be uptight. But definitely, yeah, I think, I don't write with other people. I haven't yet. I've kind of tried
Mm,
to in different increments, but it just hasn't quite felt right. But I do like
right.
collaborating for sure. And especially filmmaking, when you're actually getting in production, that's like all about collaboration.
Especially with a good DP. Do you know, what
Mm.
are you shooting? What do you like to shoot on? Or do you care that much? What kind of camera?
Well, I like things to look like film. I mean,
Hmm.
we shot my first short that I wrote, Disco Man. That was shot on 16. And my DP, I found him at USC Film School. And
Hmm.
he's a really good friend. And we just shot something this last spring. So that was a long time ago. He became chair of the film school that I teach at now. But all
Oh,
that to
wow.
say, yeah, again, it's the people that you meet here, you meet them there. It's we're all still here, um,
Yeah.
and still love filmmaking. So that said, my DP for Perfection, my feature, his name's Robert Poswell, and he's amazing because this guy, not only is he super talented, we shot that film for 2 years on the weekends, 2.5 years.
Wow.
So,
Wow.
to get someone to like literally, okay, we got a little more money, Rob, come over. We got to shoot this other, we would, and then a lot of times just he and I would like jump on a bus and I'd borrow a camera from a friend. We had prime lenses, which if you put that on digital cameras, it gives a more cinematic look. So
Hmm.
we had those for a while. Like we shot that film literally in 4 different formats, meaning 4 different cameras. And I
Did you find it
recently,
matched okay? Or
it
did
did.
you?
It did. It worked for the film. I don't know. Like recently someone asked to see it, this wonderful DP that I was talking to. He lives in France. And I felt a little self-conscious because I'm like, oh my God, he's gonna see like how, you know, and he's like, oh, it's shot so beautifully. And I'm like, wow, all right. Nobody knows.
Yeah, all this.
Yeah.
You know,
But
yeah, you don't. Why you don't have to worry about that stuff. And
well,
what about?
look, it's gotta be in focus. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
And sound is a
Do
big
you?
deal too.
For sure, absolutely. It's hugely important if you can't hear it right. But what about like how concerned are you when you shoot with stuff like crossing the line or where to place the cameras? Are
Mm.
you relying on your DP for that, like making sure that you don't have these jump cuts because the character's looking the wrong way? And
Yeah,
is that your
yeah, for
concern, or you let
sure.
the DP handle that?
Well, because so far I've been mostly acting in the stuff that I've shot, I
Hmm.
definitely rely on my DP as well as my script supervisor.
Hmm.
And
Right.
I mean, I can tell myself when we're setting up a shot, and then sometimes you can cross that line and it's okay. It's not going to be an editing nightmare, but you sort of have to gauge it, and I don't make those kind of decisions by myself. And I really do rely so much on my DP and my
Right.
scripty because it's it's that funny thing. Like for me, what the reason I became a director in film was because I made a short that different short besides Disco Man, that it's called Blow Me, and I didn't direct it, and I did a lot of directorial stuff on that project, and my director at the time was busy with other things, and so we weren't really able to finish the film for a long time. And actually, my co-star was a editor as well, so he kind of got the film and he edited it, and we worked on it together. And what I learned, and this goes back to the film festival thing, right? So in film, director has the say in everything in terms of how final say on music and different stuff. And being a screenwriter and an actor and even a producer, I didn't have the same access to the vision that I had. So
Right.
so I thought, ooh, I need to direct this stuff. So
Yeah.
that's how that shifted.
How do you go about how do you go about fundraising, for all this stuff? And what kind of budget do you usually try to get?
Well, it's tricky. That's the hardest part. And I just was at a film festival here in LA. It's the American French Film Festival. They have it every year at the DGA, and I was listening to a panel of producers and directors and from Europe and the UK and Los Angeles. And the thing is, those foreign countries, they have film funding built into
Mhm.
their system, literally the government. And there are different types of ways that those, like more character driven films, this is what I'm pretty much more interested in,
Yeah.
what we would call art house films.
Mhm.
Especially right now, there's just this huge divide, which is very
Mhm.
much like the whole world that we're in right now, right? So there's tiny budgets and huge budgets, and the middle-sized budget isn't really around anymore. There's no support for it, and it's
Right.
happening in Europe too right now. So I was listening to see like, okay, are they going through it too? So that said, yeah, there's different ways, and I would say for first-time directors, that are making a feature or a short film for the first time, crowdfunding's great. There's amazing platforms. I did that with a company called Seed and Spark, and they were really supportive and helpful, and we
What
hustled,
do they
and
do? What do
they
they do that's better than putting it up on, what some crowdfunding site?
well, they are a crowdfunding site, but
But
what they
why not just yeah, why not just use your own, I don't know, what's the difference between
well, they
GoFundMe or whatever?
well, I don't. Yeah, I get. Well, GoFundMe, I thought was more for donations.
I don't know.
Yeah. So there's fiscal sponsorship, which is something you need so that people that are donating to your project get an actual tax write off that's properly done. So you want to do that.
Mhm.
Um, but they help curate, and they have a platform. I mean, look, you've written the thing, you're doing all this work. Are you going to set up a website so people can give you money? So that, and like, maybe you can, maybe you're really good at that.
Mhm.
Places like, well, Indiegogo and Kickstarter. And I mentioned Seed and Spark because there's someone that I did it with, but all those places, they have it. They've already, it's like, why reinvent the wheel? They've done all that work. So literally you can just send people there. They take a small percentage of whatever you
Mhm.
get, and different platforms have different things. I don't know. I know there's one that if you don't make your goal, then you don't get any of the money. So I didn't do that one. But
Right.
but going back to someone who's starting out and wants to make something, a short or a feature, and hasn't already exhausted their family and friends, there's nothing wrong with doing that. Also, there's
Mhm.
grants, and
Right.
those aren't easy to come by, but they're 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 there. And depending on, you know there's different places. There's, like, in San Francisco, there's the San Francisco Film Society has very specific grants for people that shoot in the Bay Area, and a lot of films
Hmm.
have gotten made through that grant. They give a significant amount of money, and so there are ways, and it's not easy. I mean, really, ideally, a private investor is great, and there's going to be a loss. So now most of the indie films, and these aren't absolutes, and I'm not an expert, I'm just speaking from my own experience, but
Right.
an indie film may not get a theatrical release. I did not with my feature. What I did get is I got the theatrical experience in film festivals, and I was
Right.
lucky to be programmed in Los Angeles through the American Cinematheque, and I got to see my film at the Egyptian Theater, which was heaven.
I,
And
rem- I
you were
was there for
there.
that.
You were
Yeah.
there. So
Yeah.
it's like, and now it's available to stream. So most projects go to streaming, and huge projects go to streaming now. So we're just in this very
Where is
different
it?
world.
Where is it playing on? Where is it streaming now?
On Tubby, and
This is
yeah,
Perfectionist. Which one is
yes,
which one?
Perfection.
Which yeah.
Yes,
Okay.
yeah, and all that's on my website,
Right.
ChristinaBeck.com.
ChristinaBeck.com. Interesting. Wow,
Mm-hmm,
that's
mm-hmm.
interesting.
Yeah,
But this
and
is
my
and
shorts are on there too.
all you're short. But and what do you? Is there a down like getting to a big festival? That's got to be a game changer. But can a little festival help you?
Well, yes, because again, you see your film on a big screen, you see your film
Hmm.
with an audience, you meet other filmmakers, and yeah, as you know, Mr. Jammin, everything in this business is preparation and luck, right? So you're honing your craft, you're
Hmm.
doing what you love. There's no like slam dunk guarantee, even with the bigger festivals. Like I know people that have gotten
Right.
into huge festivals and got big representation, and then like a year later, nothing. So it's like,
Nothing. Yeah.
yeah, I guess I always say to my students, pick stories that you love, pick stories that you feel like you have to tell, because you're going to be
Hmm.
living with that story and pitching that story way beyond the script. You're going to be
Right.
pitching it for grants, you're going to be pitching it for festivals, you're going to be pitching it for people to watch it online. You're forever pitching these stories, but to say something visually um, is powerful. I think it can change minds and hearts. So I
Right.
come to it with that, and it is frustrating. I have a feature that I wrote last year that I have not made yet. We shot a few scenes in the spring with some of my students, and my first DP, Mikhail, to kind of see where it lands and figure out, like, do we want to do a crowdfunding thing? Do we want to try to get a grant? Like, where? And I don't know. Honestly, I don't know if I have the bandwidth to go through that hustle for getting financing right now. Right now, because
Right.
I'm
So
busy
if you
doing
if
other
not
things.
that, oh well, I was gonna say if not that, then what?
Well,
Like
right.
well,
I mean, look, ideally, if we were all Henry Jaglom or somebody who has a trust fund,
uh,
independent filmmaking is for people that have a trust fund, basically.
or can crowdfund, right? Or can
Yeah, yeah, I'm teasing.
right?
Yeah,
Make it.
yeah. Mhm.
How many when you shoot? How many people on set? How many crew members do you want to have? Like, what's your skeleton crew?
My skeleton is like probably 12 people.
I'm surprised it's that big. So who?
That's it. Well,
Let's walk
oh,
through.
you
You
mean
got a script
it,
supervisor,
it happens
DP.
fast. Yeah. Okay. Scripty, DP, AC, sound mixer, boom, um, makeup, hair. That could be one person. But who am
Right.
I forgetting? Producer, of course.
You're gonna
Um,
want someone with the lights.
well, right.
Lights.
Gaffer, grip. Then we have
How many cameras are you rolling at once?
oh, one. Yeah,
One. Okay.
yeah, yeah.
Okay.
This isn't like TV. But I did actually. I made a short film with 3 cameras once. I did that one. I
Right. I
did for
mean,
Searchlight. Yeah, that's true. But that was
okay.
people were like, "Why did you do that?"
But that's still not even near 12. That might be, I don't know. I lost count, but
Well,
that might be
I'm
seven or
missing
so.
people. I'm on the spot here. I'm trying to think. I'm totally missing people. I mean, there's craft service.
Right.
Oh my God, I'm
That's
probably
actually
missing
important
like the
because you got
most
to feed
important
people.
person. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyways, yeah, 10 to 12. It just adds up. PA, you need a PA, you need,
Yep.
yes. But yes, you
Are
can
you
do it with 5 people too. I've done it with 3. I mean,
are
you
you
can do it.
pulling any permits, or are you
Well, there's
shooting indoors?
that. There's that. Um, I do permits when I am renting equipment and I have to. And I've also completely guerrillaed so many things.
Wait, if you have, why do you have to have a permit if you rent equipment? Do they require that?
Because yeah, you have to have insurance and there's Film
Uh huh.
LA and yeah, there's a whole thing that needs to
Yeah.
happen.
People gotta get paid off. Yeah.
Well, it's
It's
kind of a yeah.
it's hard, and
Hmm.
yeah, it's hard. It's a hustle, but you do it because you love doing it, right?
Yes. Yes, that is
Right.
true. That is true.
And how many scripts do you have that are just sitting around that are I guess I won't even try with that one, or
Yeah, I know. That breaks my heart because I was at a ratio of at one point having everything produced. I was like, I don't, everything's been produced. But now
right.
I've written more scripts. I was like, yeah. So yeah, I have probably, but not a ton. I have a couple features, and I've written a few series, and so yeah, not yet, not yet.
But what about just something that you could do? And then we'll wrap it up because I don't want to keep it too long. But what about doing
Okay.
something where you could just shoot it in your in your apartment, like write it specifically for your
Yes.
apartment?
Yeah. Well, I would still need to get permission from my landlord. I'd still need to get
Really?
equipment. Yeah, because you can't shoot without permission if you want to have insurance, and you have to have insurance. Now, look, my my feature perfection in my old apartment, I actually did have permission from my landlord, but we shot so much of it just really run and gun,
Right.
and that
Right.
can be done. That can have, but you still, and also I want to pay people. I'm at a place where I can't ask people to work for free. Now, if it's your first project and stuff, I encourage everybody to ask people to work for free if you treat them well, and if they're
Hmm.
newbies too, and it's like a shared experience of discovery and stuff, and they feel connected to the work, and you feed them well. You got to feed them well. You got to give them some
But it seems
food.
like you have the perfect person for that because you have a bunch of students who want to just get their names on stuff.
That's true. That's true. Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's
And these,
yeah. And I would probably and I probably will end up shooting this feature with, and look, my students are amazing. They are so talented and professional
mhm.
when I get on their set. So this year I've had 2 students cast me in their short films. So I got
Mhm.
to show up,
Really?
yeah, as an actor
That's
on these.
fun.
Well, it's great because I was talking to the other film professors, because we just, we work with them on the scripts, and we sign off the scripts, and then they go off and shoot. So they're on their own. They're
Mhm.
unchaperoned, right? And then they come
Right.
back and we work on the edit and stuff. But we don't know what really goes on in those sets. So I was saying to this other professor the other day, I'm like, yeah, I was there. Like I got to be there and see what. And the truth is, these students are wildly professional, and I wouldn't really honestly want to work with anyone else but them. They are so
Wow.
good. So yeah.
Someone called me up, a student, I don't want to say where, they needed like a 50-year-old man. Now, I don't play 50. We all know that. I play mid 30s.
Of course.
But
Yeah.
I was like, all right. I didn't really want to do it. I was like, all right. And then he calls me a couple weeks later. Um, he's like, yeah, well, we're gonna need you to read.
Oh
I was
my
like, I'm offer only.
god.
I'm out.
Oh my
I
god.
didn't want it that
Well,
bad.
yeah, that's
But I think
so
that was part of the
funny.
experience that they wanted to have, was like
Yeah,
they wanted actors like, nah, I'm not reading, dude.
that's great.
That's funny.
Well, they're trying out their stuff, I guess. Who knows in
Trying
terms
it
of,
out.
yeah, but wrong guy. They got the wrong
Yeah.
guy with you. Yeah,
I'm offer only.
that's right. That's right, Mr. Jammin.
How funny.
Yeah.
So, all right, this is so fascinating because, like, this is a world I know nothing about. This whole people, because
Mm.
people ask me all the time, hey, I got India. I don't know. That's Christina. So, where do people follow Christina Beck on? How do they learn more about what you're doing?
Well, like I said, my website, and then
Give it to again. So they,
okay, it's ChristinaBeck.com.
there you go.
And yeah, and then I'm on Instagram, Xtina Beck, and where else?
What do you mean? Wait, X Diana. How do you spell that? I don't remember that. Oh,
Xtina.
oh, it says Xtina.
Yeah.
I don't know why you said Ina. We'll work on this later.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. Put a little thing up there. We don't have to talk about it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, and I just want to say lastly, I am so not an expert on this.
Please.
I've been just finding my way as I go, but like, I've watched other writers, like the path is it's just not a straight line, and I think to
Right.
stay connected to purpose, right? And like, okay, I feel like I got to tell certain stories, and when I talk to my students about this, okay, why do you have to tell this story? And we ask ourselves those questions, and why now, and all those things, which in as far as indie film goes, I feel like we're in a little bit of a dip right now where the character driven independent films, at least in America, are not being celebrated as they once were. And
Mm-hmm.
I believe that that'll shift. And I've talked to many people about this, and we've gone through so many different, you can look back in the 1970s where Paramount was like, studios were making beautiful character driven
Mm-hmm.
films, and I
Not
don't know if we'll
anymore.
ever go back to that, but I do think, like you said, you can have a tiny crew and you could make something. I could make something in my living room, absolutely. And one of my favorite filmmakers is a woman named Barbara Loden. She sadly passed away a long time ago. She was an actress. She actually was married to Elia Kazan, and she made a film called Wanda, and it's an amazing film. And you can find it online. It's on the Criterion Channel and different places like that. But she had a tiny crew. She had like maybe 6 people, and
Mm-hmm.
sometimes people, besides the tax write-off, they want to contribute. They want to be a part of it. They want to be a part of this like passion storytelling. Yeah. What were you
But
gonna?
sometimes they want to give you their notes, right?
Well,
Sometimes that money comes with strings.
yeah. Or here's the other thing. Yeah, find an actor who really wants a great part, that has some dough, that wants to co-produce or something, and you guys can collaborate on that, and you can write something
Mm-hmm.
that's really great for them that they would never get cast in. There's a
You
lot of different
recommended, that's
ways.
a great idea. That's a
Yeah.
great idea. You recommended to me to watch Thunder Road. Remember that?
Oh
You told me to watch
yeah,
that.
the short.
And
Or
I
did you
loved
watch it?
it. And
Yeah.
I didn't realize it was actually, I watched a scene from it, but it was actually, I guess, a feature or whatever. But the scene stood on its own. I go, this is a beautiful. It wasn't short, but it was a beautiful scene.
Oh,
It was
so you
maybe
watched from the
8
feature,
minutes long.
or did you watch the short
Yeah,
film?
yeah. Because I think you gave me the link to Vimeo or something.
Oh, okay.
And
Yeah.
I just watched that one church scene where
Yeah,
he's
yeah.
like
That's it.
sobbing over.
Yes, yeah, that guy is amazing. He's the real
Yeah,
deal. That's a guy to follow, because
yeah,
he's Joe Independent Film. Jim is his name actually, and
yeah.
he makes stuff, and he works as an actor. He'll do commercials, whatever, and then he'll take that money, and that's what Cassavetes did. Cassavetes made whatever, he was working in television stuff he wasn't crazy about, and then he would take that money and then he would just like make the films he wanted to make. So maybe it hasn't changed at all. It just goes back to that thing again, where if you have this story, you got to tell, and it does start
What
with the
kind of
script.
stories do you feel you have to tell?
Well,
you know,
I feel like I almost keep telling the same story, but I
it's okay.
really
Different
love.
versions of it.
That's right. That's right. As I get older, I get these different perspectives of it. But I do. I love the story of people, characters that have perceived limitations or real ones, and they slowly find their way out of that predicament. And yeah, I like happy endings. I like to see
Hmm.
the journey of someone sort of starting off in a place where they don't feel right, and they get
Hmm.
a little better.
Right. And you said before I cut you off, you're like it all starts like the focus has to be on the script, right? It's all about the
Absolutely.
script.
That's the blueprint. That is the
Yeah.
blueprint, especially if you're shooting with no money and no time, and because you don't have the luxury, and we never have the luxury. You see it all the time in any budget level. But the truth is, the script really is the everything starts there. That's how you get anybody on board. That's how you can
Hmm.
refer, if a DP, who's maybe a great DP and wants to do something small because he loves the story or he loves the subject matter. And that script should be tight and ready to shoot.
Hmm.
So,
Right. And
yeah,
because you could shoot something and you get the biggest crew and the biggest budget and it looks like a movie, but if the script sucks, so what? No, it's not. No
yeah,
one's gonna want to watch it. But it may
right.
look like a movie. So what?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, that's right. And then it won't get programmed really in festivals because there's so much competition. I just
Mm.
think that thing that we kind of all know, make it a personal story. It doesn't have to be autobiographical, but make it something that you really connect to, or a topic that really you do have some experience in, that you can bring something that maybe we haven't seen yet, or we haven't seen from that angle, like you said.
Yeah.
That's the stuff that's really gold. Like, I love that Thunder Road short. It's such a great
Hmm.
example of a guy who just took a very, very simple premise. And
Yeah.
the other kind of novelty of that short is he shot it in one take, which is pretty cool. That's not easy
Yeah.
to do.
That's not
But
easy, but so I mean, but so what? You know what I'm saying? He did it, and that's a
yeah,
novelty. But as you
yeah,
pointed that out, I forgot. I like the
yeah.
story of it. I
Well,
forgot it
that's
was
the
all one
thing. You
take. Which
shouldn't be looking at it like, oh, where's the cut?
right?
No, we want to be engaged. And that was very engaging. And that was a very
Yeah,
personal story. I mean, I don't know about his personal story, but I know that I felt that in his
yeah,
work.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
It's all about that. It's all about being vulnerable and about sharing something that only you can do. Right? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, hopefully. I mean, I don't know. I think it's there's too many topics now, that people are dealing with, in terms that need to, like, voices that need to be heard in the world, I
Y-
believe,
Yeah.
you know,
Yep.
and
And
yeah, this is a powerful way to get our voices out.
but that means writing some that's what I think, because everyone's looking for diverse voices and voices
Mm.
that have been underrepresented. So that means writing about I think your experience. That's what we want from you,
Well, I
because
think so too.
now's your
Yeah.
shot, you know?
Yeah. I think so too. Like, no one can, like, steal your idea, because that's a whole thing too. Like, sometimes we're like, oh no, someone's going to steal this idea. Well, there's not that many uh, ideas, really, when you think about it, right? The same story over and over. I'm still
Mhm.
telling the story of someone overcoming. I love characters that overcome their limitation, or their perceived limitations, or their backgrounds. I come from alcoholism and all sorts of other things, and
Mm.
that doesn't mean that I'm going to keep getting it on the nose with those topics, but it informs the way I look at the world growing up in that
Yeah.
environment. And
Right.
today I'm really grateful for that. But when I started writing, I was still very tortured by that. So,
Mhm.
but keeping it that process of keeping it personal, and having that point of view with those circumstances, makes it only something that I can say.
Christina, I think everyone should start taking your class. One of your
Okay.
either your classes,
Yeah.
but the
Yeah.
LMU one
Thanks.
is a little difficult. That's they have to
Yeah.
enroll, but
Yeah.
the other
Yeah.
one, yeah,
Well, yeah,
the
Strasbourg,
Strasbourg, that's
or
different.
yeah. I mean, I do workshops too sometimes. So
Oh, you do private workshops,
hmm I do.
like screenwriting workshops, and is that on your
Yeah.
website as well?
Yeah. Not right now, but it was.
Oh, but
Yeah.
how would that
But
basically work?
yeah. Well, I've
Like,
worked, so I've done like 6 weeks workshops where we really start off with like, okay, what's the story you want to tell that's most personal to you? And so it's literally creating a character or you or, that story from the point of view of the storyteller and the steps to take, whether it would turn into a series or a short film or a feature or a play.
and it's 6 weeks and it meets once a week or something?
Correct.
That sounds really good. How many people are in that
Yeah.
course, or like at a time?
Well, it's at different times. It's usually pretty intimate, not a ton of
Hmm.
people, but now we can do stuff on Zoom, which is great.
Right. So,
So
wow, that sounds like
yeah,
that sounds pretty cool. Yeah, people should check you out.
yeah.
You better put that up
Yeah.
once this
I guess
podcast drops. You better.
I guess I better do that. Yeah, I guess
Wow.
so. But
Okay,
yeah.
tell people where to find that again. So in case you make that happen, that sounds like a
Oh
pretty
yeah.
cool thing.
Oh, thanks. Yes, ChristinaBeck.com. Mm-hmm.
ChristinaBeck.com.
That's right.
Christina, thank you so much for joining me here. This was a good talk. I thought this was really
Ah,
helpful.
thanks, Mr.
Now I want to
Jammin.
be an independent filmmaker.
No, you don't.
No, you don't.
If you want to make money, no, there are some that make money. There are some that make money.
Right.
Yes, 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 yes.
Wow.
But yeah, thank you so much. It's so fun to talk with you, Mr. Jammin.
Yeah,
Always,
thank you. Thank you.
always.
I'm going to sign up. All right,
Okay,
everyone. Thank you for listening. And yeah, make sure you get on my free weekly newsletter at michaeljamin.com/watchlist. What else we got to talk about? We have a course. Yeah, you can check out my course at michaeljamin.com/course. And if we post this in time, I don't know, but I'll be doing 2 shows in Boston, November 12th and 13th from a paper orchestra. It's my stage reading, and then 2 shows in December 10th and 11th. And for tickets, go to michaeljamin.com/live. All right. Thank you again, Christina.
my
Wonderful.
pleasure.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Thanks for
Oh,
asking.
yeah. Hey, it's Michael. One more thing. Come see me perform. I'm going to be in Boston area, actually Amesbury, Massachusetts, on November 12th and 13th at the Actor Studio, performing my show, A Paper Orchestra. And then I'm going to be back in Los Angeles on December 10th and 11th, again at the Moving Arts Theater Company. So tickets are on sale. Go get them at michaeljamin.com/live. It's a small, intimate venue. I'm going to be performing from my collection of personal essays, and each one's going to be followed by like a 20-minute Q&A. We get to talk about the work. It's a fun event. So I hope to see you there. Go get them. Tickets again are at michaeljamin.com/live. And of course, sign up to my weekly newsletter. That's called The Watch List at michaeljamin.com/watchlist.
This has been an episode of Screenwriters Need to Hear This with Michael Jamin and Phil Hudson. If you'd like to support this podcast, please consider subscribing, leaving a review, and sharing this podcast with someone who needs to hear today's subject. For free daily screenwriting tips, follow Michael on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok at Michael Jamin Writer. You can follow me on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok at Phil A. Hudson. This episode was produced by Phil Hudson and edited by Dallas Crane. Until next time, keep writing.